I don't know about my job, but you're completely welcome to it. Folks love when you're on. I find it to be incredibly informative and terrifying whenever you're on the air.
No, that was Joan that calls me Dr. Gloom and Doom, not you.
I won't call you. No, it's not. It's not gloomy. It's just. The thing is, to your question,
it's not happy subject matter that I.
Not just that, but you keep questioning why aren't more people enraged? Why aren't we in the streets? What are we doing? And with your experience and knowledge of what happened in Russia, is the energy of the people similar in any way to Nazi Germany, to communist Russia? Because you ask, like, why aren't we doing more as citizens? What was done by other countries that face similar situations?
Not enough people are feeling desperate enough.
Right.
But the Trump regime has made it so that too many of us on the progressive side feel helpless to do anything.
That's true.
And it's not true. We're not.
I know we're not helpless. What I'm saying is that, like, were there movements in Russia that we should be emulating that were able to overcome this sort of fascism that we're encountering?
In the former Soviet Union, for sure. What strikes me so much there now so in Afghanistan, over 9 years, the Soviets lost 35,000 soldiers. That's dead and wounded combined. They're losing that number every month now.
Oh, my God.
And the Afghanistan war spurred the creation of the Union of Mothers of Soviet Soldiers as a protest against that war. 35,000 over 9 years. That movement started, and that triggered other protest movements that collectively turned into the anti-communist movement in the Soviet Union. And it brought down the communist regime there.
And however, so
that's not happening now.
Yeah, but
there.
We don't have because in contrast to Russia, which has a more unified ethnic base, right? Like, ethnically, they are all Russian. And here, we're able to splinter.
Don't tell that at the time in the Soviet Union to the Azeris and the Lithuanians and the Estonians and the Kazakhs.
If we make the Lithuanians and the Cossacks the enemy, then we can have this Russian sort of patriotism. Was it used the same way as it is against trans individuals and black people and immigrants?
Yeah, here, that's dividing us.
I'm saying, was that also utilized in Russia?
Sure. In the Soviet period? Well, it was the opposite. The regime was trying to create this new Soviet man, they called it, right? This Soviet identity. And the people across the whole territory understood and knew that was all BS. And the communists ended up deceiving themselves. Gorbachev thought that they had succeeded in creating this Soviet identity.
Yeah.
The KGB knew that was wrong. And that thing spun apart.
And obviously there are Christian nationalists white Christian nationalists who want that to be the case here, but I think they have a much bigger lift to accomplish that kind of thing. I mean, just today there was a piece, even our MAGA alderman here in the 45th Ward posted about how Latinos now are the majority of our Chicago Police Department, which historically has been a way for immigrant groups to progress in a new country. The Irish, the Italian. I mean, I think the Irish are probably one of the best examples of that. And even though we still call them paddy wagons here in Chicago, that was to round up the Irish, fighting and drinking and all those things.
But my view is, the Trump and MAGA use the racism, the hate, as a way to do other things.
Yes,
that's always the case. But it's proven effective here. We certainly. The American political culture is certainly prone to racism. We were built on racism, right? And so and we have a long history, whether it's against Catholic immigrants in Chicago and against Jews, against Italian, on and on and on. It's a long history. Any newcomers, even though we're supposed to be the land of immigrants and opportunity, there's also this hostility to anyone new. The bigger problem is Trump has step by step, starting with when he came in 2017, gotten us conditioned to almost normalized insanity. And you remember in the first year, people were saying, write this down. Remember how it was. Don't let this become normal. And we've lost that.
I do. Absolutely, we have. I do appreciate that when you're in studio, and I look. Everyone does this, by the way. When I look at the clock, everyone else looks at the clock, and I feel bad. I feel like I need to have a clock somewhere over your head so you don't notice it as much when I go like this. Because the reason for those of you listening, it doesn't mean a thing. But if you're watching on Facebook Live, you can see that we both went like this to look at the clock. And the reason I did that was a listener had a question. I'm like, do I have time for this before we go to a break?
It's also because
we do
go on too long.
No. No. Oh my God. I hope that's not why my guests think I look at the clock. That's not at all why I look at the clock.
No, but I know that I do.
No. Excuse me. If you are well informed, you can take. There's a reason we gave you a microphone. Stop. The reason I look at the clock is because this listener asks a question that I think a lot of us have that might not have come up with Joan. Is please ask the professor if he has any ideas as to why Kash Patel is meeting with FSB in Moscow 3 weeks before the midterms. You know about this? You don't know about this?
I did not, no.
Oh, yeah. This is the thing. Yeah, he'll be in Moscow in October. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm with the listener. I thought you might have known about this.
Yeah, I had not caught that.
Yes.
I mean, in normal times,
yes.
In normal times, that's his counterpart. But October's a long way away, and who knows what the United States posture is going to be towards Russia, towards this war. I have no idea. But there are lots of global intelligence reasons for heads of U.S. intelligence agencies to be meeting with their counterparts, whether in Russia or China. But it is clearly worrisome.
Yeah, don't you think
when it's Kash Patel and the Trump regime? Yeah,
he seems exploitable, as does the entire administration.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I mean, like what? So,
I don't want Kash Patel anywhere near anything or anyone. Even I don't want him near people I don't care about. The guy's like really creepy, scary.
Super creepy, scary. FBI Director Kash Patel is planning a trip to Moscow and St. Petersburg mid-October. This is reporting done last Monday, so it's been about a week.
I didn't hear it.
The precise agenda for his expected visit would mark the first trip by a sitting FBI director to Russia since 2013.
Makes sense.
And the reasons are undisclosed. Russia's FSB security service is likely to host him. I mean, I don't know what else he would do as far as, that's their mirror agency, correct? FSB?
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say he's going to drink.
I mean, it's just because he wants to see what their vodka really tastes like.
Kash Patel is the director of the FBI, right?
Right.
And in the United States of America, the FBI and the CIA are distinct, separate entities. We also have the NSA. In Russia, the FSB is the successor to the KGB. Going back even to the Tsarist times, it's one agency.
Right.
So the foreign intelligence and domestic investigation, it's all one agency. So when Kash Patel is meeting with the head of the FSB, he's meeting with their equivalent of FBI, CIA, and NSA.
Wow.
So the agenda is really important, and it's going to obviously stay secret. It is worrisome to me that it's October, and going off of my oft repeated on these airwaves expectation, November is going to be meaningless for the Democrats, for the anti-Trump movement, other than another major step towards the end of our democracy. That's what I expect.
You mean if we don't turn out and vote, or you think that? So there are folks,
so it could be collaboration on methods and actions to ensure that MAGA wins those elections.
Right. So we had a listener call in yesterday from Green Bay. We've talked to Nathan Taylor from the Election Truth Alliance, which is doing research, gathering data on the last election and whether or not there was voting manipulation. There doesn't seem to be any appetite amongst Democrats to, one, look back and to plan ahead. And that's concerning to you, I can tell.
Yeah, it is. And now we know that the Democratic Party, the National Democratic Party, is not just broke, they're in debt.
Okay.
Happy days.
Hey, everybody. So where are you retiring? Like, when you think about retiring, like, where do you think of? You don't want to tell anybody? All right, fine. Mine's Scotland. Scotland, maybe Ireland.
Mine's Costa Rica.
Oh, really? Oh, that's lovely.
It is there.
It's very nice. And
I like
know,
toucans.
Yeah.
And Fruit Loops.
And I think my mom went down there for a butterfly sort of tour and stuff. I know this sounds grim, and everyone's like, yeah, stay and fight. I am staying and fighting. I also have an adult son with disabilities, and Colin Farrell, the Irish actor Colin Farrell, has actually started a fund in the United States because he is from Scotland, from Ireland, and he is able to place his adult son with similar disabilities to my son, and he could not believe that in the United States everything is shut off completely at the age of 22, and that's absolutely accurate as far as like support and class. Yeah, America. So anyway, a question from the 630: isn't the FBI only supposed to investigate the U.S.? Why Moscow is a great question for Kash Patel to be going there.
Well, on the first point, so obviously, when the FBI is collaborating with Russia, that raises some eyebrows. But FBI investigators, at least when we had our normal FBI investigators before Doge and before the Exodus, were the best in the world. And the FBI collaborated with countries all over the world in complicated investigations on every continent. So that's quite normal. I also think it's normal that it is desirable that the heads of our security agencies across the board would have open lines of communications with their counterparts in our adversary countries.
Right.
It's a way of, again, in normal times, of making sure that we can de-escalate conflicts, we can manage disagreements. That started really in earnest with the Soviet Union after the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? The adoption of the red phone, as it's known in the White House, direct communications to the Kremlin, but it doesn't end there. It was top down through across all agencies.
Wow, I'm trying to find out how many FBI agents have left because a lot. Is it 800? Is that? I'm trying to find the exact number, but when you have
depends how far down you go, right? But,
yeah. But here's the thing: it's not just how many have left; it's those who are being trained under this administration, who we then have in place. We don't think about it's all that, right? That domino effect, that I guess the butterfly effect, right? Is then what do we have for decades are similar to our ICE agents who are, and I'm not saying FBI, I'm hoping that those within the agency continue to hold the highest standard of training as opposed to what DHS is doing with like 47 days of training for ICE agents, most of that online and videos.
This I know from some personal connections, like those who are still there, who have been there for a while, like are so demoralized.
In the FBI?
Yeah.
I used to do some work with the FBI. They had a whole like media connection. They had a FBI Citizens Academy that I went through, and I appreciated the insight that essentially the mission was to develop a line of communication to build trust. And I don't know how you ever do that. Honestly, I don't know in the foreseeable future.
And how does it come back?
Yes. Yeah. We are in studio with Professor Joel Ostrow, and he is also, by the way, Professor Ostrow knows that I put this chair together that I'm sitting in right now, and Paul Shavari was sitting in it for a while. Paul, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he's still there, but I'm pretty sure I did not put I can feel it rocking, so I think that there's some...
You got a screw loose, Patty?
A couple screws loose over here is all I'm saying. If you want to join our conversation, the number is 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. We'll open the phone lines in a few moments, but you can also text us, which is where I'm getting some of your comments and questions as we're talking to Professor Joel Ostrow, who is also, and I didn't write it down, the co-host of the podcast,
The World Discord Podcast with Brian Endless, my co-host, professor at Loyola.
Excellent. Let's continue our conversation when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle. Hello to all of our sponsors and our gratitude as well to Pride Coffee Roasters. Go to pridecoffeeroasters.com and put in an order for some of the best single origin roasted to order coffee beans you will ever have. They have suggested maybe some new coffee choices for Joan. I don't know what Joan said, but apparently Pride Coffee Roasters was listening and said, we want to give her a bag of coffee. I will make that happen. Also want to thank our friends at Source Solar. Go to source.solar, make an appointment with Peter Sorellis. Maybe it's time to get solar panels on your house or business. Now is the time to get it done. He has partnered with Illinois Solar for All to help you with your financing. That's source.solar. And thank you to Minocqua Brewing Company and our friends who are tuning in on the Substack there. We enjoy having you here, and I hope that you will subscribe and share with your family and friends so more folks can join the conversation. More after this.
Dive deeper into the heart of the news and stories at WCPT 820 and across the Midwest by checking out our website, heartlandsignal.com.
It's the coverage I can count on every time.
For the latest news updates, in-depth analysis, compelling stories, comprehensive election coverage, live streams, and thought-provoking opinions, head to heartlandsignal.com.
When I need to know, they're there.
They keep me informed and updated wherever I am.
Stay informed with WCPT 820, your go-to source for where facts matter.
Summer is about to burst with fun at the 97th Annual Lake County Fair this Wednesday through Sunday, August 2nd. Experience 5 unforgettable days packed with thrilling rides, mouth-watering fair food, adorable farm animals, incredible 4-H, and the excitement of the Lake County Queen Pageant. Plus, enjoy 12 free daily shows and attractions included with your admission. Cheer on the pig races, watch world-class lumberjacks and magic show, meet amazing canine performers, and explore interactive exhibits. Even more excitement with our grandstand events including the Demolition Derby, motocross, monster truck throwdown, and pro bull riding. Whether you're making family memories, chasing thrills, or just coming for the funnel cake, there's something for everyone at the Lake County Fair. The fun pops off this Wednesday through August 2nd at the Lake County Fairgrounds in Grays Lake. Buy your tickets today at lcfair.com. The Lake County Fair, where summer is bursting with fun.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
No detours, no distractions, just bold ideas and real talk. This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
I just found out that Professor Joe Ostrow might not be listening as closely to my show as one might. That's all right. My family doesn't listen to the show either. It's fine. It's fine. Professor Joe Ostrow in the studio.
I honestly just forgot that they were a sponsor. Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm kidding. Well, here's what's not fine is what's happening globally, what's happening in our country. You mentioned earlier on Joan's show and a little bit here about, and I mentioned about the poorly trained ICE agents who are kidnapping people off our streets, murdering them. It is challenging when I just wrote about this on Monday. I posted this story about how 2 fathers were murdered within the course of a week. And I get to use the word murdered because that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there were no markings on any of the vehicles that were pulling over neither Lorenzo nor Johan in Maine or in Texas. Even Secretary Homan, who has not clarified his statements that he had not watched the video to determine whether or not those agents had engaged the sirens and lights. And so all these people who are like comply or die with what? Carjackers?
Right.
With what? With masked men who are driving somebody off the road?
Yeah. What? on what planet are those lawful agents of the government carrying out lawful activities, right? That it's a rogue private security agency at the behest of the president.
And that's the thing.
We call that dictatorship.
We call it dictatorship. And in part, as you mentioned, this rogue private entity is making massive amounts of money for the if people hate that I call them, not people, the hate listeners.
Concentration camps.
I'm just a historian, a professor of political science. I'm saying, like, how else am we are concentrating a certain population, and we're saying immigrants, but I don't see. I mean, I know that there's been at least one Irish citizen or one Irish citizen that has been in these camps.
Oh, several citizens have been.
But I'm saying not necessarily just Latino.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, there have been a few, but they're certainly not targeting the Polish, the Irish, the other immigrants from around the world as much as they are Somalis, Latino, people from Central America, Latin America, Mexico.
Right. White people who protest get shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is what is happening. So, to that, I had somebody slide into my DMs. I want to be very clear about something, folks, about social media. You do not have an expectation of privacy or anonymity, in particular when you think you are just sliding into my DMs to say that when ICE kills somebody, it makes you laugh and you hope there is more. You 1,000% will be put on blast on my page. You will, if you have on your page when people can follow you there and your employer is there, that is not on me. Those are words you chose to use. Yeah.
I would bet anything that if you were able to track the IP address of those DMs, they are not located in the United States of America.
Some of them, you would think some of them. There was one who sent me, they actually publicly posted.
Will be there.
Yes, someone publicly posted under one of my posts that they hope that me or someone I love was raped and murdered.
I saw that. Yeah, you told them to go in grace, I believe.
I did a whole video about like my brother was raped and murdered.
Yeah.
And so I guess if he's a white guy, if he's a white guy who law enforcement palled around with and didn't have a problem with, I guess that was okay. Because as long as it's a white guy, they only want to give me this long copy and paste of people who've been killed by someone who was here without documentation. Like, please come at me.
Who cares? So they're here without documentation. We call that a misdemeanor.
Well, documented. The rate at which white American citizens commit crimes is far greater.
Oh, yeah.
Far greater. Yeah. And by great, I mean massive numbers in contrast to people who are here undocumented.
Yeah, just limit the discussion to the mass shooters.
I mean, just the numbers alone. But to your point, it is a misdemeanor. And it's also a civil situation.
A civil misdemeanor, yeah.
And so there's some dude that like sends me a copy and paste of something. What about this? What about this? What about this? First of all, then due process still applies.
Yeah.
And whether or not there was under Obama and Biden,
correction should apply.
Yes.
It isn't apply.
No, but
it should apply.
It should. And here's the thing. So everyone was like, well, Obama was the one who was the deporter in chief without murdering people, without breaking down doors, without sending MEAL Team 6 into the streets, waddling around as cosplaying law enforcement.
Yeah.
Poorly trained and dangerous thugs.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the professor says no lies detected, I appreciate that. How are your students processing a lot of this? I mean, these are kids. We were talking about this earlier today. God, I have so many interviews that I can't even keep track of it all. But for Gen X, I think you're Gen X like me, right? So Gen X, we didn't have. Like, we were in the middle of the Vietnam War. Like, our big thing was Desert Storm, which we got to watch on CNN with night vision, right? It was like, what are we doing? Our defining moment, like, we were adults by the time that 9/11 happened. We had this period of, like,
I'm kind of in between for me. It was more the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the
89.
Cold War. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. So, and because you were more engaged and following that, right? I mean, for me, it was like the fall of the Berlin Wall, absolutely. And I was like, okay, glad that happened, but not enough of the scarring of the 1960s. Too young to absolutely really absorb what that meant. Don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And so we now have a whole generation like your students who only know this post 9/11, this Trump sort of era of existence. They were kids. They were babies when Trump won the first time.
It's true. And to me, like what I note, and I've been at Benedictine now for a little over 25 years, the sort of, and it's a combined, like there's a whole load of factors that lump together to create this. It's, I guess they feel defeated.
Before they've even started.
I'm never going to be able to own a home. I'm going to be burdened with crushing debt, so I'm never going to have kids. And it's just this despondency, helplessness. And I think it's a combination of, there's Trump, but it's also all of the lockdown drills from kindergarten all the way through, which is every single time it happens is trauma inflicted. It's the knowledge of climate change, and they experience whether it's the smoke or the bigger storms differently than we do. They understand it more profoundly, most of them.
You know, I was thinking when you mentioned like essentially what we grew up believing, you know, you get your degree, you get a good job.
Edward Albee, right? Like the American dream. You know, everyone, you get in a house with a picket fence, 2.4 kids, a cat and a dog.
Yeah. And I think we all had sort of that version of a dream, you know, became like, you know, having a boat or having a summer cottage or, you know, all the different trappings of that. And I think that we need to help reimagine that and not that we should definitely be fighting for housing that's affordable. Health, part of what crushes everybody is the fact that you're paying between $600 a month, $1,200 a month just for the bare minimum of health care coverage, or you're staying in a job that you can't stand, that you're miserable in because you have health insurance, you're afraid to leave.
The winning message is still the one that as a whole, the Democratic Party has not articulated, and the progressive wing of the party is now focused squarely on it, and that is the inequality affects all of us. There are 400 families that are benefiting from this to unimaginable degree, and then there's maybe a few thousand that are benefiting from whether it's the high cost of gas or the high cost of healthcare, or the low wages and the lack of jobs, or the student debt or the housing debt. There's a few thousand people at most who are raking in tens, hundreds of billions of dollars at our expense. And that is the key point. It is at your expense, Patty. It's at mine. It's at most of our listeners. If you're not one of those thousand or so people, you're paying, and you're paying them in the end.
Yep. Absolutely true. We're talking to Professor Joel Ostrow. He is the co-host of the podcast,
The World Discord Podcast.
Along with
Brian Endless, professor at Loyola. And we just did a long 10-part series on this theme: who benefits, the corruption of this regime, and who's benefiting and how and why. Let's do more of that conversation when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. We can open up the phone lines if we want. Lady B would be great. 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278 to call or text. And I'm going to go find my Allen wrench to fix this chair, because if I'm going to put it together, I'm going to put it together right. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. She's sick of having a screw loose. I know. I'm just like, look at this. I'm like tilting. Nobody can tell but me. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. KKNW 1150, and hello to all our friends tuning in digitally.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller in the Weatherology Weather Center. Look for clear skies tonight, a low temperature of 66 degrees with winds out of the northeast at 15 to 30. Wednesday, plenty of sunshine with a high of 77 and northeast winds at 5 to 10. Thursday, sunny with a high temperature of 79. Friday, chance of thunderstorms and a high temperature of 83. Saturday, scattered storms, high of 77. Sunday, sunshine with a high again around 77. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 75.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter. Stephanie Miller.
Trump's rhetoric calling the left the greatest enemy of this country is exactly why Melissa Hortman, her husband, and their dog aren't here. I continue to be deeply unsettling to have been raised to speak and act the exact opposite of Donald Trump and see the majority of those who taught you that in church say nothing. I'm going to guess Mike Johnson didn't see the I'm glad Bob Mueller's dead tweet. You didn't see it? Didn't hear about that? Doesn't know about it?
Stephanie Miller, weekday mornings 8 to 11 on WCPT 820. Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Those Chicagoans heading up to southern Wisconsin. Should you ever forget to load up on Progressive brews from the local favorites like Rogers Park Provisions or Park West Liquor in Lincoln Park, Minocqua Brewing Company beer is now conveniently available at Dream Liquor and Cigar in Kenosha and in the Lake Geneva area at Delavan Liquor and Smoke in Delavan. If the great town of Madison, Wisconsin is your jam, please remember to swing into the Minocqua Brewing Company tap room at 2927 East Washington Avenue to grab some Resistance beer, pizza, t-shirts, and Progressive camaraderie.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We continue our conversation here with Professor Joel Ostrow, Professor of Political Science at Benedictine University. I have that right?
Yes, you do.
And also the podcast co-host with Brian Endless from Loyola University on Discord. It is called
the World Discord Podcast.
The World Discord.
Yes.
It's available everywhere. That's why
it's available everywhere.
Discord. That's why I get confused.
Yeah.
Have you ever used the actual Discord?
No, but it was a strategic move putting it in. We hope that people like searching for Discord might, accidentally stumble across our idiocy.
Nice planning. Let's take some phone calls from our listeners right now. I feel like there's more I wanted to talk about with our before we do take our phone calls, I do want to come back to this idea of who's benefiting from this administration and the wealthiest. You mentioned the 400 families. The top 1% of earners have received billions in tax cuts, we know, driven by these reductions for corporate and individuals who are billionaires. Here's the thing, Elon Musk's Doge, right? The fact that somebody sent me a link to apparently somebody on YouTube who goes after the folks who are racist online and like track them down and like humiliate them, sometimes get them fired from jobs and things like that. That's a whole other mission that I'm not on. But I do wish I could track down everybody who was in my comments last. If I had the time to sit there and go through, everyone was like, Doge, Elon's doing a good job. He's cutting down fraud and waste. And the number of jobs that were cut was, I think it was like 280,000 jobs. So you have people who were earning an income, who had a field of expertise in whatever way. My mother worked for the federal government. She was a computer program for the Railroad Retirement Board. She was a COBOL programmer, so zeros and ones. She was a Y2K programmer. So these are folks who, she was there for 25 years. She is on a pension now, so I guess people are thinking about like saving that money. But when you eliminate these positions, then you have people who are unable to do this efficiently and in a way that helps people.
And then you have other people leaving.
Yes.
Because they're so demoralized and the workplace, like it's become untenable, and it's across the government, right? CDC, NIH.
Yes.
USAID has been eliminated entirely. Like it's basically every agent. The FBI, as we talked about earlier, it's everywhere.
Yeah, and people
aren't going to go back.
They're not going to go back. No. And how much savings did we get? None. We actually increased our spending by $275 billion. And Elon Musk got over $18 billion in contracts. Conservatively, that's a number. And the other thing is that, he's also a trillionaire. So congratulations, everybody.
Well, and the national debt is almost doubled in this Trump administration?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But I do
feel...
And
we are paying that. That debt is our money going to those people.
Yes, 1,000%. Let's get to Jim, who's been on hold for a bit. Hey, Jim, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hi, Professor and Patty. The murder in Houston, which is really strange about this murder, they're holding his son in jail because he's an eyewitness to this murder. And if that isn't American justice today, I don't know what is. Now, you're holding a material witness in jail because he knows what happened on the street is extremely strange. And, Professor, all I can say is I lived in the 60s. I was at the Democratic National Convention. I was in D.C. with 350,000 people. And we had energy. We had a lot of energy in those days. I don't know how you replicate that energy 50, 60 years later. It seems like everybody's involved in I'll go down the street and people bump into you and they're staring at their phone. They don't even see you.
Yeah, we're fragmented.
Yeah, they don't even see you. Honest to God, I'm walking to the Jewel and two people actually are walking into me and I got to step aside. I mean, they don't care if I was dying of, a blood vessel pop. I mean, this is really disturbing. But I agree with you. I mean, I can't imagine why. I mean, I'm in my 70s. But I know Patty's been at Broadview. I would have been at Broadview. My brother did all the driving. I gave him my car. But, I don't know. But I agree. I mean, we're in a desperate situation. But But my point is, do you think if we do get the House back, that we can get some traction back, Professor?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've been trying to figure out how we claw this back and how long it's going to take us. This is a whole nother generation of. I mean, on the other hand, they broke things very quickly. I hope that we can break what they broke to fix things quickly.
That could happen. My frustration. Last summer, I was on with you when the ICE madness was happening on the streets. Now it's happening at the airports. They're being more clandestine about it. But I know I said to you, I know I said to Joan, they're disappearing people off the streets. Why are we not en masse protesting?
Yeah. No.
I think the phrase I used was, she's in the attic now. It's time to go protest.
I think that we're all able to. And to Jim's point, I have been at Broadview, and it is part of it is the state also, I think, this sort of safe space we all imagine ourselves to be in Illinois, right, or California, or with governors like Pritzker and Newsom and Walz, right, where we think we kind of think we're like, okay, well, they seem to be they're talking the good talk. I think that's part of the problem, is that we also then need to, because if we're saying, because they're part of the problem.
But people are getting killed here.
I understand
and
that.
in Minnesota,
right? But so that's what I'm
California.
saying. But what I'm saying is our Democratic leaders, Newsom, Walz, Pritzker, right, Whitmer, all of them are basically we're fighting the good fight, but ultimately, even our state's attorney is not prosecuting the people who shot Mayor Martinez.
They're not taking the action, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean,
our state police are collaborating with
So our progressive leaders are part of the system right
100%.
now. So I mean, how are people who well, this is the person I voted? Because we still have the auspices of choosing our leaders in Illinois, and yet my state legislator, Lindsay LaPointe, can say that she thinks that we should disinvest from companies that are part of Gaza and the genocide there. But I don't see her at Broadview. No. I don't see any of our executive level. Janelas can make commercials, but I don't. Again, this is where people call me a Republican, but this is part of what I'm saying, is that we feel comfortable enough with the people that people have voted for as Democrats to go, well, they're doing the job.
But there was a point last summer when Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson and Senators Durbin and Duckworth and Tony Preckwinkle all got together and they made wonderful statements of solidarity in defense of democracy, but there was no change in the Illinois State Police, and the state police were protecting the ICE officers. Yes. There was no change in the Cook County Sheriff's Office, and the sheriffs were protecting the ICE agents, and all the way down the line.
That's what I'm saying.
So why didn't the governor, why didn't the Cook County president, why didn't the mayor issue orders to ultimately they're the chief executives of their jurisdictions? Aren't those agencies supposed to report to them, be subordinate to them?
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Go ahead, Jim.
Professor, I just want to ask you this. I was just reading that Stalin, it's 1941. He is journalist at the Kremlin, And nobody can tell the truth because otherwise they can't talk to a citizen on the street because the citizen has to turn them in. Is their civic duty. But one journalist gets enough booze in them and gets and says, I want to speak the truth, and the number one thing is to speak the truth. Well, anyway, Stalin singled him out, and then, like a Trump thing, started pointing his finger at his face. I can't stand that when somebody points their finger in my face. And in other words, you'll be the last journalist who's going to speak the truth around here. Yeah. But I watched it degrade, Professor. Yeah. I mean, degrade to the point where I can't recognize it any longer. I mean, you can't get a germane point out anymore. It's like they're either bought off or they're afraid of their paycheck or I don't know what it is. But journalism, it isn't. Anyway, you guys, thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. Thank you.
What were you say, Professor?
So I learned the other day, I need to speak generally because I don't want to expose the person I learned this from. There are people who work not for the federal government, work for state governments, agencies around the country, but that have connections to government agencies, say maybe in areas like related to science, for example, who speak out regularly in their private or professional capacities as state-level officials against wrongs or untruths or even crimes committed by the federal government or agents of the federal government. And those, like, they have plans for if they're arrested.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's not just one or two people.
Right. They know how
they have a set plan in place with other people, like it written out. This is who you call. This is what you do. Like,
I will tell you when I go to Broadview, and I won't tell you in what capacity I've been there. I mean, I'll tell you off the air, but I write my with a Sharpie. Yeah. My husband hates it. I put in case of emergency.
Yeah.
Basically, his name, the phone number.
On your arm. Yeah.
On my arm.
Yeah.
And there's a woman I met from other groups but
yeah,
she's created a tattoo that's identifiable.
Yeah.
And of course, my husband's very dark. He's like, well, what if your arm's unattached? And I'm like, oh, well, I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. I'm just saying. It's dark when I go to these big protests. You're not a Republican, Patty. Only a fool would think that. I think there is some frustration from people who like their Democratic electeds having all media, even the teeny tiny bit not owned by the fascists, dumping on them 24/7. And I hope. Look, I appreciate the passion that Governor Pritzker. I know. Here's the thing. I have interviewed him. I have sat down with him for hours. I personally know that he is a good person.
He is a good man.
He is a good man. I have no compunction saying that. Being a good man and the actions and the choices that you make. Look, one of the reasons I ran for office is that Illinois is still one of the worst states in the country to care for someone with a disability. And he's the governor that oversees that and has since I've been screaming about it since 2012.
But imagine what would have been different. Like, I can imagine how things would have played out differently had they worked together, they being the Pritzkers, the Newsoms, the Walzes.
Yeah.
I don't know about Whitmer, where she stands. She's a little iffy.
She's a little bit weird now, yeah.
But then also the county, the Preckwinkles and her counterparts in L.A. and Minneapolis and the mayors.
Yeah.
And if they had coordinated fashion everywhere where ICE was deployed, either got their police forces that report to them to protect the people,
right,
and replace those who refuse to do that.
Right.
Imagine how much more enthusiastic we would have been in support of the defense of our democracy. The point is that, instead of a few thousand people at most at Broadview, there would have been tens of thousands, and they would have camped out because our leaders would have been there with them, if not physically, but they would have been doing things. We would have known that they're actively with us. They want us to do that. And we have not seen, and and then the silence of the Obamas and the Kennedys and everyone else, and the Clintons, they should be calling for us to pour in the streets.
Right.
And it's not happening.
Someone said, would there be thousands of people at more people at Broadview
Yes.
if our leaders? Well, that's the thing is, and I don't want to have to wait for a leader. This is part of it too. Is I feel like we're waiting for a leader because the leaders that we have are basically saying this is the best we can do. We stand with you from a distance, is what it feels like. It's the best way I can put it.
Okay, and quietly.
Quietly, because I mean, we saw state police using,
tear gas. They were using chemical weapons against the people.
I'm just saying.
And to protect ICE agents from being able to get where they need to go and do what they need to do.
And I want to be clear, the conversation and the reason I'm going in this direction is because Professor Joel Ostrow has asked repeatedly, why aren't people in the streets? And I think part of that being placated, whether it is social media or it is music and diversions and all those other things, it is also the people that we voted for, that we believe in, are that we're following their lead. They're not out in the streets screaming, and they're making cute videos, and they're and by cute I mean they can be impactful. I just don't.
And I am convinced that we on the progressive side of the spectrum, we're the conservatives. We want our country back. We want our Constitution to function. That is, the progressives are the conservatives. MAGA are the extremists, the radicals. Right. We're conservative. We want the United States of America back. But part of the problem with that, and I fall in that camp, is we want those institutions back. But the problem is those institutions are gone. And so we're reliant on November. Yep. But November isn't going to be November.
That's my sense of things. Anyway, you can be angry at me. You can text me, call me, or you can just join the conversation in any way you would like. 773-763-9278. I can say go in grace. I say it less and less these days. You have no idea. I've been blocking a lot lately. Yeah. More after this on WCPT and KKNW with Professor Joel Ostrow. He is the co-host of
the World Discord podcast with Brian Endless from Loyola.
He's professor of political science at Benedictine University. More in a moment.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. For all you sweet tooths out there, let's look at some chocolate brands that support the Democratic Party. Hershey. Hershey gives more to Democrats. As in 2024, 58% of their donations in politics went to the Democratic Party. Toll House. Toll House is owned by Nestle. Now, Nestle stopped giving to politics in 2020, where 71% of their donations went to Democrats. But in 2024, some of their senior leaders donated, and out of their political donations, 78% of those donations went to Democrats. And if you like chocolate cake, let's talk about Pillsbury and Betty Crocker. They're both owned by General Mills, and out of all their political donations, 77% of General Mills' political donations go to Democrat candidates and causes. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll continue our conversation here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle. Of course, all of our friends tuning in digitally on Facebook, on YouTube, and now on Substack with Minocqua Brewing Company. Thank you to Professor Joel Ostrow, who is joining us in studio. He's the co-host of the Public Discord.
The World
Discord.
So we're scholars of international relations as the World Discord. The podcast was starting out talking about different wars and conflicts around the world, but it turns out we're pretty divided and conflict-ridden here at home. So
World Discord coming up after in the 6 o'clock hour. I have an interview with Dr. Chevy Humphrey, who is the president, the CEO of the I don't call it the Griffin. And I never said it. Sorry, the Museum of Science and Industry. They have an Anne Frank exhibit. To your point about
I haven't
she's
been
in the
there
attic.
yet.
Yeah, I want to go to the exhibit.
So do I.
They have a lot of the original elements because her father. So I think it was Otto Frank. Otto Frank did not want that room. He wanted it to be empty. He wanted to stand empty. In memoriam to his family. So a lot of the artifacts at the Museum of Science and Industry are recreated from the original room that she and her family hid. Again, that's coming up in the next hour. We also have Julia Lurie, who wrote a piece in Mother Jones, Me, My IUD. It's about reproductive health, and it was a really fascinating conversation. So at any rate, thank you, Dee. I appreciate it. He says he's not angry at me. The Graham Plattner situation was one of the things where I was not well informed enough. Platforming is a weird way to put it, but we had a writer on. His name's Corbin Trent, and he was very passionate about Graham Plattner. I mean, there were a lot of folks, a lot of what you would call, I guess, influencers, Substack writers, content creators, all those things. But like those young people who they brought in to be interviewed in the Washington, was it the Wall Street Journal?
I'm not sure.
The strategists who were giggling about picking him was just so atrocious.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre and out of step. Yeah.
Was worried about that guy from the first I heard about him.
Yeah.
Just didn't sound right.
It was not. Let's get to our friend Roosevelt. What's on your mind, Roosevelt?
Hello, everybody.
Hello. What's on your mind?
Thank you for taking my call, Patty.
Of course.
This thing with Netanyahu, this is what I said this morning on the Spanish station, was cultivated by the Republican Party. If I remember correctly, during the Obama administration, didn't the Republican Party invite Netanyahu to talk in front of Congress? It was the first time ever any leader outside the United States spoke in front of Congress.
Well, that's not true. Winston Churchill did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let's just say from Israel.
Yeah.
But during Biden, didn't they invite Netanyahu again? And again, he spoke in front of Congress. So didn't he do it twice? That's my question to you guys. And that's my point. This thing has been like more than 40 years coming as far as eventually a Republican president supporting Netanyahu in attacking Iran. So it's
in January of 2015, House Speaker John Boehner issued an invitation without notifying the Obama administration.
Was unique about it.
Aiming to address negotiations over Iran's nuclear program.
Right. Yeah, plenty of foreign leaders have spoken before joint session of Congress, but it has been either invitation of the White House or a joint invitation of Congress.
He didn't even tell Obama he was going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I posed it in a different way, but that's what I meant without the letting the president know. So then they found their useful idiot, and he's basically on both sides. He's got it bad because let's just say that during the Biden administration, he was doing everything he could to help Ukraine, and this guy hasn't. He's promised that he's going to do something or send weapons or sell them weapons, the Patriot missiles and all that, but basically he hasn't done anything to help Ukraine. On the contrary, he's been basically doing Putin's job of not helping Putin's enemy. So.
Yeah, it's go ahead. Did you want to say something?
No, I mean, it's true. Since Trump came back in, the United States has cut off all support to Ukraine. We haven't really given them certainly no weapons, no money.
And yet Ukraine persists.
And yet they persist. In fact, they're doing better.
Yep. Thanks, Roosevelt. I've got to take a break here. My listeners who are on hold, I will take your phone calls when we come back. We've got a short segment coming up in the next hour, and then we've got some interviews with our friends, Dr. Chevy Humphrey from the Museum of Science and Industry and Julia Lurie of Mother Jones. We're in studio with Professor Joel Ostrow. What happened there? That was weird. I apologize. Professor Joel Ostrow. He is the co-host of World Discord along with, now I forgot.
Brian Endless.
I only can do one thing at a time, clearly.
Brian Endless.
He's also a professor of poli-sci at Benedictine University. More in a moment on WCPT 820, KKNW 1150, and all of our friends tuning in digitally. We're grateful for you. Thank you.
Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Julie Walker. AP correspondent Sagar Magani reports on Lindsey Graham's Washington funeral.
President Trump was among those remembering Lindsey Graham at services in Washington. From top Senate Republican John Thune at the Capitol.
Lindsey was a towering figure here in the Senate.
In reality, not tall, but Vice President Vance says Graham played it on the Senate floor.
Couldn't have stood more than 5'6" or 5'7", but he'd swashbuckle in with his jacket open like he was 6'5". He had an attitude to him.
And at the Washington National Cathedral, where the leaders of Israel and Ukraine joined the president and others in honoring Graham.
A giant of the United States Senate, and a true American original.
The president remembered sharing his then-campaign rival's cell phone number.
202-228-0292, if anybody wants to give it a shot. His phone exploded.
Graham had the last laugh.
Lindsey did not stop calling me for the next 10 years.
Graham will be buried tomorrow in his beloved South Carolina. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky also met with President Trump while in D.C. The White House says both were productive meetings. A teenager who killed 2 students and 2 teachers in a shooting at Appalachia High School in Georgia has been sentenced to serve life in prison without the possibility of parole. 16-year-old Colt Gray had pleaded guilty Friday to charges including murder in the September 2024 shooting that also left several others wounded. This is AP News. Elon Musk's social media company X has launched Money, a bank account-like service for users to send money to each other. X Money isn't a new bank. It uses Cross River Bank's technology and services. Currently, it's invite-only and available to X's paying members. Users receive an X-branded Visa debit card for ATM use and can send money in real time to attract customers. X Money offers a 6% yield on deposits and 3% cash back on eligible purchases. Musk aims to turn X into an everything app. Most U.S. stocks rose after Coca-Cola and other companies reported stronger profits for the spring than analysts expected. The S&P 500 rose a relatively modest 0.2%. The Dow Jones jumped 1%, while the Nasdaq slipped 0.2%. I'm Julie Walker, AP News. More stories at apnews.com. Thanks for listening.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller in the Weatherology Weather Center. Look for clear skies tonight, a low temperature of 66 degrees with winds out of the northeast at 15 to 30. Wednesday, plenty of sunshine with a high of 77 and northeast winds at 5 to 10. Thursday, sunny with a high temperature of 79. Friday, chance of thunderstorms and a high temperature of 83. Saturday, scattered storms, high of 77. Sunday, sunshine with a high again around 77. That's the latest Chicago weather update.
Right now, it's 77.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The best words to hear at the TSA security checkpoint? You're good to go. So check before you jet. Avoid delays at TSA security checkpoints by making sure you have an acceptable form of ID. That means a real ID, passport, or other acceptable forms of identification.
Visit tsa.gov/ID to check the full list of acceptable IDs. Avoid travel delays by checking ID requirements, and you're good to go.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
We need to speak out about this.
At 773-763-9278.
Hello.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We continue our conversation here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle, KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, and all our friends tuning in on Facebook, YouTube, and Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. We want to say hello to our friends and sponsors, Pride Coffee Roasters. Go to pridecoffeeroasters.com. Put in an order for the best single origin roasted to order coffee beans you have ever had. It was so much fun to hang out with them at the Jefferson Park Sunday Market this weekend. You can find out where they will be next, including the Skokie Sunday Market. It's on their website, pridecoffeeroasters.com. Thank you to our friends from Source Solar. Go to source.solar, make an appointment with Peter Sorellis. Maybe it's time to get solar panels on your house or business. He will walk you through that entire process. Again, that's source.solar. He has partnered with Illinois Solar for All to help you with your funding and make sure you can get that all taken care of. When you go green, you save green. Thank you to our friends at Minocqua Brewing Company. Go to minocquabrewingcompany.com. Put in an order. If you want to order beer, some fascist tears are very tasty on a beautiful sunny day like today. And the minocquamarketplace.com website is where you can find all the great business owners who have pledged not to support MAGA or ICE or any of the horrible things going on in the world, which we're talking about right now with Professor Joel Ostrow. Professor Joel Ostrow of Poli-Sci at Benedictine University, as well as the co-host of World Discord with Brian Endless. Almost got it.
You got
it. Professor Joel Ostrow, we've been talking about some things that make people, I think they love how measured you are, talking about things that are absolutely terrifying. That's really the bottom line.
Yeah. That's not usually the adjective that's used to describe me, but cool.
So let's talk to our listeners who have been on hold.
Now my brother really needs to listen to this episode.
We have 4 minutes to get through all of these calls. I won't make it a rapid transmit, Paul, but pretty close. You've been on hold the longest. What's on your mind, my friend?
Well, pleasure to speak to Professor Ostrow, who's the man who's not afraid to say things that I'm thinking on WCPT.
Nice.
Thanks,
and
Paul.
The truth being, there have been things that I would not express in polite company for fear people would think I'm a nut. The Trump regime, part 2, and then Professor Ostrow says it, and I'm thinking, that's what I was going to say that. And the truth is, all of them have come to pass. So we weren't wrong. We weren't wrong. But tagging on to what Jim was saying, we have state and local officers that are reluctant, maybe afraid to exercise their full powers of office under the 10th Amendment. Because everybody thinks that the Supremacy Clause means that federal law preempts or overrides state law. And you have to realize that the Supremacy Clause includes, that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, includes the 10th Amendment. Mm-hmm. People don't realize that, which is the federal powers are limited compared to the statement of powers in the 10th Amendment. And that's what people don't realize. We talk about the police helping ICE, which is unconstitutional. I was just talking about this with a lawyer friend of mine this morning, is that, there are 2 cases. One from way back, Craig versus Pennsylvania, the court ruled that the states are not required to assist in federal law enforcement. And then in 2012, in Arizona versus the United States, the court ruled that states are prohibited from assisting federal, right?
Yep. Go ahead. I've got.
And under Illinois law, they have been for a long time, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Those are very, very good points. As I said, I have 3 phone calls to get to, and now have a minute for each. Elaine, what's on your mind, my friend?
Oh, hi. I'm just looking at my phone. It says Iran weighs retaliation after deadly Ukrainian strike on merchant ship. Now, maybe you guys already talked about this, but am I is this spreading all through Europe, this war, or like what is going on here?
So Ukraine has been targeting, what would we call it, non-Russian flagged vessels that are defying the sanctions against the export of Russian oil through the Black Sea. And in targeting a ship, they misidentified a Ukrainian commercial vessel and hit it. There's been intense diplomacy between Ukraine and Iran to try to prevent escalation of this, and it seems like that has been successful. But the strike did happen, but it was accidental.
Oh, my God. Well, thank you, Elaine. I hope that helps. And let's get to Frank in Villa Park. Hey, Frank, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, guys. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Patty.
Thank you.
Professor, please tell it like it is. We need more of that. We need it every day.
Thanks, Frank.
And, you know, I hate to just complain, but racism, fear is rampant here. I don't see any leaders doing anything. I'm very disappointed in the Democratic Party, whereas, I'm a Democrat, I'm a liberal. But if I look around at all the bad neighborhoods that they represent for the last 50 years, it gives me a lot of trouble.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're being pulled over right now. And they got him. Oh, thanks, Frank. I got to run. That was so great to hear from you, and so great to hang out with Professor Joel Ostrow again.
Pleasure's mine.
Find out World Discord, available wherever you listen to your podcasts. That's along with Brian Endless. They are breaking down who and how much has been profited from this administration.
Yeah, we just finished a 10-part series on that. Excellent.
We'll talk to you again soon, my friend. Look forward to having you back in studio. I have interviews with Dr. Chevy Humphrey from the Museum of Science and Industry, as well as Julia Lurie from Mother Jones. Thank you so much, everybody.
WCPT replay.
We are moving from an era where America had two legitimate political parties, a left of center and a right of center, where what you do in a working democracy, the skill you need is to go negotiate those differences. So the old guard in D.C. grew up with the skill set, let's make a deal. And that made them good. The Republican Party opted out of that and said, we're never going to make a deal. Doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do. And that made the Democratic skill no longer useful. Right now they're old and they're there. So we're going through a moment where it's not left, right. We were replacing let's make a deal with let's get stuff done. And at the same time, we have a generational shift going on. Primaries are where we go and work that stuff out. So it's enormously important functionally if you're going to have political parties that survive over time and change over time.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You know, one of the best parts of summer around here is Fair Week, and it's almost here. The 2026 McHenry County Fair returns to Woodstock August 4th through the 9th, and they've packed the week with something for everyone. Whether you're cheering on the action at the Next Level Bull Riding Rodeo, catching the horsepower at the tractor and truck pulls, watching the quad racing, or waiting for the Demolition Derby, there's never a dull moment. And when the grandstand lights go down, stick around for live performances from country favorite Alex Miller and the always entertaining Feudin' Hillbillies. Of course, it wouldn't be the fair without carnival rides, mouth-watering fair food, livestock exhibits, local vendors, and all those traditions you look forward to every summer. On Friday, August 7th, you can meet me, Patti Vasquez, from 5 to 7 p.m. as we broadcast live at the fair. So grab your family, your friends, and make some memories at the 2026 McHenry County Fair, August 4th through the 9th. Get your tickets and see the full schedule today at McHenryCountyFair.com.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
No detours, no distractions. Just bold ideas and real talk. This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We continue our drive home here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle, and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, and so grateful for our friends who are also tuning in globally on Facebook, YouTube, and now Minocqua Brewing Company's Substack. Many of you know that my degree is in history, and telling the stories of where we've come from, what's happened, is incredibly important. And right now, There is a bookshelf in Hyde Park that opens onto 1942. The Griffin Museum of Science and Industry has built a full-scale recreation of the secret annex. The rooms where Anne Frank, her parents, her sister, and 4 other people hid for 2 years. Blackout screens on the windows, beds you would not want to sleep in. The whole thing brought over by the Anne Frank house in Amsterdam with more than 130 original artifacts, some of them never shown in public before. This week carries 2 dates: August 1st, Anne's last diary entry, August 4th, the day the Nazis came through the door. And we're talking about it tonight because it's extraordinary timing. Right when the federal government, the president, signed an executive order directing warning labels to go up outside the National Museum of American History in Washington. Signs telling you the history inside might not be the right kind of history. So a museum in Chicago has decided to hand a teenage girl's diary to your kids, to you, to share this story. And joining us right now is Dr. Chevy Humphrey, who is president and CEO of the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry. Doctor, welcome. Thank you so much for coming to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I want to start with the room itself. When somebody walks through that bookshelf door, what is the first thing that you want to tell them might hit them? What was the first time you felt when you walked in?
Fear. I felt fear of the small space, and actually walking through the hallway, when you saw the rooms, how the beds were so close, the rooms were so small, and can't imagine how people could live in these small spaces for 2 years.
Before we go further, I do want to ask you, because I remember the first time I read Anne Frank, freshman year of high school. I went to Lane Tech right here in Chicago. First of all, where did you grow up, and when did you first learn about Anne Frank? Was it a classroom, a parent, a book?
It was actually the classroom. I grew up in Houston, Texas, and I read the diary in middle school, and it was really it was transformational. Because it helped me understand how I could create my own agency to make this world better. But I truly didn't understand how I was going to do it as a young child. And I've reread the diary several times as an adult, and I still find ways and find new things about myself on how I can create an impact to change the world to a better place. And every day that I walk through this exhibit, I learn so much from my experiences, from talking to people throughout the exhibit, and how it's changing their lives and changing their thinking, because it's history. Mark Twain, there's a quote attributed to him that says, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And we're hoping that people will understand that and how they can make changes to this world.
Extraordinary. And you have more than 130 original objects from the Anne Frank house: letters, Anne's first photo album, a fairy tale book that belonged to her and Margot. Is there one artifact you find yourself standing in front of longer than perhaps others?
The gramophone. It hits me hits me very much to my heart, because it translates to, they had a gramophone. It's like a record player, and they listen to music. The same things our young people do today: listen to music, enjoying themselves, and try to be teens and be youthful. But then they were put in this horrific environment that they were trying to be a teenager, but also trying to make sense of the world around them. And that's a connection that is made with every child that goes through this exhibition, because they're like me, but they had different circumstances.
Absolutely. And obviously, you don't just run a museum. I was just there recently because my son graduated from the University of Chicago, and what an extraordinary event. Everyone that worked there could not have been more incredible. But I, as a Chicago girl, was walking around the submarine and remembering when we had to go outside and walk the plank to get to it, and have that big, beautiful building around it is extraordinary. But some people are going to hear Anne Frank at the Museum of Science and Industry and think, why there? Explain to folks why this belongs under the roof of the Museum of Science and Industry.
Well, first of all, we try to bring exhibits that people would not otherwise be able to see. Not many people will be able to go to Amsterdam to see this. And so bringing experiences like that to the museum will open their eyes and give them opportunities to see and really hear about Anne's story and other experiences that would not be possible to visit. The second piece is we have the largest school field trip attendance of any cultural institution in the Midwest. And so we see young people running around trying to really make sense of the world around them. And, you know, with social media and all the things that are happening, they're being exposed to so much. I'll give you a personal story. My grandson, who's 6 years old, had a project called Love Is. And Love is normally mommy, daddy, family, brothers, sisters, grandparents, etc. He wrote, "Love is helping my country." And if we think our children aren't experiencing and trying to figure out why these things are happening in the world around them and being able to make sense of it, you know, this is so important for them to understand history so that it doesn't repeat itself.
Absolutely. And I understand that you're offering free entry as well to this exhibit for field trip groups from anywhere in the country. You mentioned that it's the number one in the Midwest. So that's not a small thing for any field trip. And by the way, how spectacular to bring classes here. Talk to us about that decision and what teachers have been telling you since May, because I'll be honest with you, teachers in a lot of states right now are getting told what they can and can't put in front of a classroom.
You know, having the opportunity and being free, we are so fortunate to have very generous benefactors that are helping us to provide free admission to every school group in the Midwest to come to this exhibition. In addition, after they enter the exhibition, they will receive their own diary so that they can write and reflect on how they make sense of the world around them. In addition, we are also providing scholarships for buses so that there is no barrier to learning and understanding Anne's story.
How do folks reach out in case someone's listening and maybe, I mean, we kind of assume that, well, if this program's out there, you know, folks will find it. And yet, even with all the technology at our fingertips, things fall through the cracks. Well, how do people reach out if they're interested in organizing a field trip?
If you want to learn more, please go to our website at griffinmsi.org. Again, that's griffinmsi.org.
And can I just spatially, I'm trying to imagine, where is the exhibit? Is it on the main floor for Anne Frank?
It actually is on the main floor, and it's actually right next to our coal mine exhibit.
Okay. I got you then. Near the street of yesterday. Although is the ice cream parlor still there? You know, we shouldn't get into that. We're talking about this.
I know. No, the ice cream parlor isn't there, but yesterday's Main Street is still here, and we actually just added Powering the Future, an energy gallery on our second floor, and we have the ComEd Coil, which is a 33-foot tall slide that you'll be able to learn about kinetic energy.
Oh my, it really is. There's, you know, when you say something for everybody, it sounds like such a generic thing, but really, having gone there since I was a child, since I was about 3 years old, and then raising my boys who are now 20 and 22, I'm so proud to live in a city that has the foresight, perspective to say Anne Frank belongs at our museum. Tell us a little bit about that process. Was this something that was collaborated? Like, how did this get initiated?
You know, we have an incredible team that actually looks for experiences that our audiences it would be difficult to see outside of our museum. And so they found this exhibition that was in a Jewish cultural center. The Anne Frank House designed it for this Jewish cultural center in New York. And they said, we've got to go see this. We went to see it. And we actually said, we have to bring this into a large museum setting because we want to make sure that everyone learns about Anne's story.
I think it's incredible as well that the idea of giving everyone a journal, all the children a journal, because I think that Anne Frank's story reminds us that, I mean, you know, Anne goes through so much. You know, she's in puberty, she has a crush. I mean, all the things that a teenage girl or a child, any kid, any human being might be, you know, what they want, what they're afraid of. I think is really important that you're handing those out and encouraging folks to share their story, to be a part of, because we're all part of history, and remembering Anne Frank is crucial in how we move forward. What are some of the things that you're hearing from the people that work at the museum and putting this together? Because it has to be so emotional for some folks too. I mean, it takes a lot out of you as well as it puts into you, doesn't it?
It does. I'm hearing a lot of thank yous. I'm hearing a lot of, I didn't really understand what I read until I experienced it. I'm hearing about, you know, how can we do things to change what we're seeing today. It's creating a lot of agency in people that visit, where they want to go out and try to improve this world. And I think it's a lot of inspiration, a lot of resilience, a lot of hope. And, you know, hope gets us through everything.
It really does. Again, we've been talking to Dr. Chevy Humphrey, who is president and CEO of the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry. Let folks know this is running through. When does this open specifically?
It's open now, and
okay.
It's open until January 2027.
Oh, great! So people have some time, but don't don't hear January and think, oh, I've got plenty of time to get there. I think that when you have the opportunity, please do. And I'm so excited that you have shared this story with us. Amsterdam preserved the actual annex, but the rooms there are empty. Otto Frank wanted it that way, and you furnished this one. So when a kid from anywhere in the country walks out of this, aside from knowing that they are important, that this could happen to anybody, let folks know what they can get from this room that you've mentioned. I know the energy of it, but that rather than standing in the empty room that Otto Frank wanted to preserve.
I think you're going to find humanity prevails, being kind to others and being resilient. And during the darkest times, hope will always prevail.
Absolutely. And especially in a time like this, we need so much of that. Again, the Anne Frank, the exhibition is at the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry, 5700 South DuSable Lakeshore Drive, running, as the doctor mentioned, through January of 2027. Tickets and field trip info at griffinmsi.org. If you're a teacher, the field trip entry is free. If you're a parent, take your kid who perhaps has never heard of Anne Frank or has, and this is a way to really be immersed into this experience. If you want to know what the fight over history looks like where you live, go to your next school board meeting and ask what's on the shelves, because there are places that perhaps won't let children read the Anne Frank diary. Dr. Humphrey, thank you to you and everyone at the Museum of Science and Industry for the extraordinary work that you do. Before we go, I do have to ask you, I know that you've got some time crunch. What is it like to walk into that building as a job? Because I think everyone listening is so jealous.
You know, it is the best experience. I am so humbled and honored to be a steward in this organization over the decades. So many lives have been changed and inspired by this museum. And every day I walk in, I'm joyful, and I know I've got to roll up my sleeves and get it done.
Well, it certainly shows. And again, on behalf of my family, at the very least, thank you to you and everyone for the great work that you do. In particular, so proud that the Anne Frank, the experience has come to the Museum of Science and Industry. You have a wonderful rest of your day. And we look forward to talking to you again. For any developments, announcements, exhibits you want to share with us, we'd love to have you back.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and have a wonderful day as well.
Absolutely. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150, KTNF AM 950.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update. This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
WCPT replay.
We have Maria on the line from Chicago.
I'm so impressed with how you and everybody on WCPT are able to stay sane with all the chaotic nonsense that comes out of the White House and all the violence and all the crappy things that's going going on around us and how you are still able to be a voice for us, because WCPT is my go-to when it comes for information, news, etc. Because I don't trust the government anymore, which is sad. It makes me sad as an American citizen. It saddens me to say that.
You and me both. Thank you, Maria. You're very welcome. The only place where you went wrong was assuming that all of us here at CPT are still sane. But we'll have that discussion another day.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Everyone needs to take care of their mental health, even running back Bijan Robinson.
When I'm on the field and feeling the pressure, I usually just take a deep breath. When I'm just breathing and seeing what's in front of me, everything just slows down. It just makes me feel great before I run the play.
Just like Bijan, we all need a strong mental game on and off the field. Make a game plan for your mental health at loveyourmindplaybook.org.
Love your mind.
Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation, the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, and the Ad Council.
Loved one owns a gun, and you're concerned about their behavior. You're worried they might harm themselves or others. You wish more than anything you could hit pause on this situation. In Illinois, a firearm restraining order does just that. In extreme cases, this order temporarily prevents a person in crisis from having a firearm, giving them time to heal before they do something dangerous. Learn more at illinois.gov/pause to heal. Brought to you by the Illinois Department of Public Health, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Behind every meal are the efforts of our farmers and farm workers, whose work feeds our families and powers our communities. For more than 30 years, AgSafe has supported this industry with the knowledge and resources needed to keep workers safe and thriving. We partner with agricultural employers to strengthen safety practices and provide hands-on training. Safety isn't paperwork. It's people, community, and peace of mind. Learn more about our work at agsafe.org. Sponsored by agsafe.org.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. If you have children, they are always going to be your special bundle of joy. And if they're a newborn baby, you want to make sure what's best for them. So here are the best baby product companies that support the Democratic Party. Procter & Gamble. Now, Procter & Gamble owns Luvs, Pampers, and All Good. In 2024, Procter & Gamble gave $599,000 to the Democratic Party, 61% of their donations. Procter & Gamble supports the Democratic Party. Kirkland Diapers. Now, Kirkland Diapers are owned by First Quality. And First Quality does not give to politics, but their employees do, and their employees lean slightly to the left, as $50,000 are donated to Democrats in 2024. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Save big money on your outdoor projects now at Menards. Create stunning patios, walkways, and retaining walls with our huge in-stock selection of durable concrete landscape blocks ready to take home today. Plus, get free estimates with our easy-to-use design program in-store or on Menards.com. Save big money on our smooth patio block on sale now through August 2nd. Plus, check out our weekly flyer for more great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
No detours, no distractions, just bold ideas and real talk. This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We continue our drive home on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle, KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. Hello to everyone who's tuning in digitally as well on Facebook, YouTube, and now Substacks, Monaco Brewing Company Substack. Please consider subscribing and sharing with your friends and family so they can join the conversation as well. And if you're listening on a podcast that are available at heartlandsignal.com, we appreciate your time as well. So I'm really fascinated by this story our next guest has to share with us. Last summer, she noticed that she felt good, calm, light. She was crying at the way sun hit a tree, and it was the happy kind, which was strange because she'd been carrying anxiety, depression, and insomnia since she was a teenager. Therapy, Prozac, Zoloft, Ambien, a running habit. She decided this was just how she was built, like having brown eyes. It took a couple of months to notice that the other things that had changed. She'd had her IUD taken out after 14 years. So she did what a reporter does, and she found out this is in the journals. It's been in the journals for a decade. Over 1 million women studied in Denmark, higher rates of depression, higher rates of suicide attempts, and the highest risk of all teenage girls on hormonal IUDs. Then she found her own medical records from 2011. She was 21 in a clinic in Minneapolis. The chart says she told the doctor she was worried about mood effects. She got the IUD that day, and she has no memory of that conversation. Julia Lurie is a senior reporter at Mother Jones. The piece is Me, Myself, and IUDs. Julia, thank you, first of all, for sharing your story, and welcome to Driving It Home.
Thank you so much for having me.
Is that, I know that's like summing up so much of what you share. So we have a lot of questions, and I knew I wasn't going to get to everything. So I do want to go back to, this feeling you were having. You built an identity around being an anxious person. You had all the tools, right, to deal with that, as a therapist might say. What did it feel like to find out that wasn't the real you? That might not be the real you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was complicated. It wasn't like a all of a sudden realization. Like it started last summer, and I was like, there were just like a string of days, and then that became a string of weeks where I was like, I just feel like calmer and happier than I usually feel. And I think as someone who like has struggled with mental health stuff in the past, like I've become super attuned to how I'm feeling and how like what I'm doing that makes me feel good. And in this case, I was like, I have no idea. Like, I mean, I'm glad I feel good, but like, what is happening? And eventually, it took me like a couple of months to put together that shift in how I was feeling aligned with when I had my IUD taken out. And I was like, that's weird. I wonder if the two are connected in any way. And yeah, then I started digging into what the science said.
Wow. And it's a lot. And pulling your own medical records. Tell us a little bit about that, because I don't think any of us even think to go, you know what, I should go ahead and take a look at my history.
It is a trip to pull your own medical records. Honestly, part of the reason I did it was because I just like genuinely didn't remember. I mean, like I'm 36 now. I got my first IUD when I was 21. I didn't remember exactly when I had it. I didn't remember like, what kinds of like, I don't know what birth control exactly. I knew that I had taken the pill at some point, but only very briefly. Like, I think it was just very foggy in my head. So I just wanted to go back to like, what did the records actually say? And what was in my record about the kinds of conversations that we had. And in my records, it says that, I had talked with my doctor right before I had my IUD about how I was a little nervous about the mental health related effects of contraceptives, and especially because of the hormones. And she had validated that it's not, I think that she was a very good doctor. Like, I don't think that she was trying to like hide anything from me. And I think she was very informed. But I think I was just kind of like, my understanding is that IUDs have a much more localized effect than the pill certainly did. And I was kind of like, I want to try this thing. And, at the time I was already struggling with depression and anxiety stuff. It's not like I was like happy and sunshine before that and then got an IUD. So it wasn't like, I think it was kind of hard to pin down, especially at the time, that this might have been having mood effects on me. But it was more after many, many years and having it taken out and being like, oh wait, I feel so much better. What happened?
Well, and you said that you don't even like the conversation that you had about like being worried about how it would affect your mood and things like that. Because I when you're talking about, that your doctor wasn't like doing something, malicious and was going with the information they had. I just flashed to when I was pregnant with my second child, and I had decided I wasn't going to have an epidural, and they kept kind of pushing it. I'm like, no, this is a decision I made. And I don't think it just wasn't in their scope of experience or necessarily like having all the information, right? Is part of it.
Right. And I think that, like even now, like just recently I went to an OB and she was like, okay, and I see that you have your IUD taken out. Do you want to have that put back in? And I was like, no, I'm good. I actually realized that, like, I think that there might be some mood effects for me. And she was like, okay, well, if you decide that you want to have it put back in, let me know. And I just feel like we were like not quite connecting. And to your point, it's not malicious. I don't think she's like, coming from a place of like everyone needs to have an IUD. But I do think that like the information that she is getting is like IUDs are more effective.
Right.
And this is a great, easy option for a lot of people. And so I want to make sure that she knows that it's an option,
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I also, because I was briefly on the pill in college, and I remember just not being able to I could tell that it was, and I think just, the sensitivities that some people have to different chemicals, like for the epidural, like that was a lot. I crashed when I was in labor the first time. So I just think that everybody's different because, and it's like anything where they have sort of their statistics, their experience, that it works for the majority. And so, and again, not from a malicious place. So talk to us a little bit about your grandmother at 102. She's therapizing you as a psychologist. Tell me about this.
My grandma she's one of my favorite people. She's 102. She is a psychologist. She is like very open about like sex and mood. And, she was, when I was talking about the fact that I was thinking of working on this article, she was like, how is the article going? Tell me about it. What are you learning? Like, she's very, very curious. And I mean, it's fascinating because she's seen like the whole arc of, access to contraceptives. Like back in her day, she was, I think, using like a diaphragm, and, the pill just like wasn't an option, and she's seen the pill become an option. She's seen then IUDs become options. She's sort of like seen the whole thing and has the long view. But I mean, she was very, very receptive to the idea that maybe this wasn't a great fit for me. And I think like just able to hold the two realities of like, it's amazing that women have access to birth control. Women should have access to birth control. And also like different birth control is going to have different side effects for some people. And we should be able to talk about that too.
Yeah. I love what you said, that she's very open about sex. And I mean, to know that she, like, I'm 55. So to think of like another 45 years of like, still being curious is a big part of longevity, I would imagine. And 100%. I love that her reaction to your conversations about insomnia was asking you, does sex help? That's amazing. It's amazing.
Classic grandma breakfast conversation. How'd you sleep? Does sex help?
And I mean, I'm not going to ask, but I love that she asked that. I mean, hey, it's different for everybody, right? So you found a study from a Danish study, 1 million women. Tell us about what they found.
Yeah, so this was the first big landmark study that was looking into the potential effect of contraceptives on mood. And what they did, so in Denmark and in a lot of countries in Europe, they have these national registries that basically anonymously track everyone's medical histories, so medications they've been on, their diagnoses, etc., which makes it very accessible for scientists to do these big observational studies. So they can look back and say, like, who was on this medication when, who had this condition when. And so they looked back at women who were on contraceptives between, I believe it was 1995 and 2013. And what they found was that basically across the board, women who were on a lot of the most common contraceptives, hormonal contraceptives, had significantly higher rates of depression and prescriptions for antidepressants. And within that, they found some trends. So when people were on progestin-only contraceptives, progestin is one of the two main hormones that's used in contraceptives, they tended to have much higher rates of depression. When people started young, like as teenager, they tended to have higher rates. And also the thing that surprised me maybe the most was people who were on non-oral forms of contraceptives, so not the pill, but something like IUDs, they also tended to have higher rates of depression. And the reason that surprised me was because like I said earlier, when I was getting my IUD, part of the selling point for me was like my understanding that the IUD had localized effects, that it was like small amounts of hormone directly to the uterus. And basically what these what some scientists have since like hypothesized is that, yeah, it might be going directly into the uterus, but it's also going directly into your bloodstream. And unlike something like the pill, which is being digested through the liver and being broken down to the liver, that's not happening with something like an IUD. So anyway, these Danish researchers found that that women who were on hormonal contraceptives, especially non-oral ones, especially progestin ones, especially women who started as teenagers, had significantly higher rates of depression and antidepressant prescriptions. Now, I should say that like overall, the rates of dramatic mood effects on contraceptives is still very low. Like this isn't to say that anyone who goes on contraceptives is like doomed to have mental health effects, but they did find that there was an increase. So after that, there were more studies, more observational studies, more in Denmark. There were some in the UK, and they kept finding that, again, women who were on hormonal contraceptives seemed to have higher rates of not only depression, but things like anxiety and insomnia. And, you know, there's a common and very well-founded criticism of observational studies like this, which is that you can't separate correlation from causation. Mm-hmm. Like you don't necessarily know that it was the contraceptive that caused women to be depressed. It could be something else, something maybe about their lifestyle, something like that. There was one study though that the same Danish researchers did, this was pretty recently, that suggests that it is potentially the progestin that has something to do with it. So they basically looked at women who were specifically on IUDs, on hormonal IUDs. And there are a few different types of hormonal IUDs, and they have different doses of progestin in them. And what they found was that women who were on consistently, like as the rates of progestin in the IUDs went up, so did the rates of depression of the women who had those IUDs. So it suggests that progestin might be one of the drivers of these mood changes.
Wow.
That was a very long way of explaining this to you.
No.
So thank you for coming into the weeds with me.
I'm there. I mean, I guess it's fascinating. Do you have time to stick around for another segment? Because if you're on a time crunch, I want to respect your time.
Yeah.
You good? We are talking to Julia Lurie of Mother Jones about the birth control conversation nobody's doctors having with them. Maybe they are. I shouldn't do a blanket statement, but a conversation we should be having. When we come back, let's talk about the part of this story that made a major medical organization change its website. What? Driving it home back in a few minutes on WCPT 820, KKNW 1150, KTNF AM 950, and of course, all of our friends tuning in digitally. We'll be right back.
From the people who brought you It's the Dog Park comes.
It's a hot spot on your dog's leg. But the internet says you can treat it at home. You're not sure though, 'cause now it's oozing.
Protect your dog from injury and illness with Progressive Pet Insurance.
Ooh, he's licking it. Super gross, dude.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Coverage subject to policy terms. This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our drive home on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, and thank you to our listeners on KKNW 1150 in Seattle, KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, and of course, everyone tuning in digitally. If you are on Facebook, YouTube, or our Monaco Brewing Company Substack, please consider subscribing and sharing with your friends and family. We would love to have them join the conversation. And thank you for sharing our podcast, too, which is available at heartlandsignal.com. We've been talking with Julia Lurie of Mother Jones. She's a senior reporter at Mother Jones. Her latest piece, just published a few days ago, about less than a week. Her new piece is Me, Myself, and IUDs. And I'm absolutely, the area of women's health is something I'm incredibly passionate about. And the American College of OBGYNs put up a website to fight birth control misinformation. And on that site, they listed mood changes as a myth. What? Okay. Even though the drug companies list it as a side effect themselves. Julia, I mean, like, what? How do you react to that?
Oh, man. I think, okay, so for this story, I talked to a lot of scientists, a lot of doctors, trying to understand, like, what do we know? What do we not know about the connection between hormonal contraceptives and mood. And I have to say, of all the conversations I had, the one where I received the most pushback to just the concept of this being a thing was from ACOG, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. And so I should say, like, ACOG is the group that sets the standards and is sort of like issuing guidelines to doctors when it comes to all sorts of things related to women's health, including contraceptives. And they have historically been very, very, like, they've really praised and really embraced IUDs and long-acting reversible contraceptives in general, because they're super, super effective at preventing pregnancy. Like, that's indisputable. They if their job is to prevent pregnancy, they're very good at that job. They also, as we talked about, have side effects. And I think that sometimes in all the praise and all the embracing of these contraceptives, that part can get lost. And, you know, like, one thing I want to say is, like, they're in a tough spot. Politically, contraceptives are super, super polarized right now. They are under threat from a million different directions, like social media, misinformation about contraceptives is rampant on social media. Like, if you're ACOG, I would imagine, want to protect access to contraceptives. That's so, so important. And so basically I went to them being like, so what's going on here? What do we know about the connection, if there is one, between contraceptives and mood? And also, like, what are you doing to fight the misinformation online about contraceptives? And I had gone to them in part because I had seen that they had this website that was all about, like you said, myths. Like, what are the myths and what are the facts about hormonal contraceptives? And one of the things that they listed a lot of actual myths, like the idea that that contraceptives will cause you to have fertility problems, or they will make you have an abortion or something, like things that really are myths. But then in that list of myths, they also listed mood changes. So, like, the idea that contraceptives could lead to mood changes was a myth, according to this website. And I was like, what? That's bizarre. That both didn't align with my experience and the experience of so many people that I know, but also it just doesn't align with what even, like, pharmaceutical companies say about contraceptives on their own, like, you know, labeling the package inserts for a lot of different forms of contraceptives. So I asked ACOG about this, and yeah, frankly, it was a pretty awkward conversation. They basically said, the person that I talked to, who is herself a gynecologist, and she was a fellow at ACOG, said, like, look, on average, birth control has not been shown to cause significant mood changes. And she said, like, if a patient comes to her reporting, like, potential mood changes that she thinks, you know, was from contraceptives, she'll tell them, like, you know, she's happy to have them come off of them if the patient wants to, but, like, she can't make any promises that the change is from mood, and she wants to check that it's not from something more severe, like anemia or thyroid disorders or something like that.
Interesting.
And again, she just doubled down, like, the research doesn't tell us that birth control could necessarily be causing mood changes. And so again, this just really surprised me, given what pharmaceutical companies say about this. And I pressed her on this. And then she did say some IUDs are associated with depression, but in the aggregate, most people don't experience mood changes based on the studies that we have. And we just kept running into this sort of, like, in the aggregate, mood changes aren't really a thing based on the studies that we have. And eventually, like, after a certain amount of pushing, she just declined to answer more questions about it. And a few days later, I received an email from an ACOG spokesperson, and she said that our conversation had sparked this internal discussion, and the group had decided to remove mood changes from its list of myths. And I was like, whoa, okay.
Hey.
So then a couple months later, their website did indeed change. I should say it just changed a little bit. So before, it said that it was a myth that birth control could cause mood changes. Now it says that it's a myth that birth control routinely causes mood changes. So I wouldn't say that it's, like, the biggest change.
Right.
But it's a little change. I think I've since talked to some other experts who they research not only the effects of contraceptives, but how we talk about contraceptives. And one thing that one expert, Catherine Clancy, she's a biological anthropologist, told me was we have this medical institutions sometimes have this like relentlessly positive framing of birth control, and that may come from a desire to protect access to contraceptives.
Right.
But she called it like toxic positivity and said, it might come from a desire to protect access, but it can come across as like medical gaslighting.
Yes. Sorry. Ding, 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 ding. Sorry. That's my commentary, not yours.
And so her whole thing was like, look, it's great that we have access to contraceptives, but like any other medication, it has side effects, and we want to know about the side effects. It's like, it's not actually that hard of a concept when you put it that way. But I think, especially with contraceptives so under threat and so polarized right now, I think that there's this tendency to just like, it can kind of feel like there are just two camps. Like there are people who are like rah hormonal contraceptives, like, at any cost, warts and all. And then there are like people who are talking about how horrible contraceptives are, maybe with the idea of getting rid of them altogether. And I think there's actually a really big camp of people who fall in the middle, who are like, no, we should have access to contraceptives. We just want to be able to know what the potential risks are. And we want to be able to talk about those potential risks and the downsides of contraceptives, because we ultimately want contraceptives to be better. And I think it's a more nuanced position, but I think it's a very widely held position by a lot of women.
I something just flashed in my brain and I had to look it up because I couldn't remember her name. When you talk about the vulnerability of contraception, God, I just remember this friggin' fraggin' Rush Limbaugh talking about Sandra Fluke and like, how much of a whore is she? How many pills does she take? I mean, like, it was one of the worst moments in women's reproductive health that I can, in my lifetime. I mean, you might have been very young. But it was horrible. You know?
Yeah. I have to say I don't remember that.
He spent days. He spent days railing on birth control, on the pill, and so I think I can see like wanting to be protective of the pill and access. It makes sense to me, and also not the risk of women's health and mental well-being.
Absolutely. And like if you go onto TikTok right now, for example, like, and you look up birth control, like, you will see reel after reel after reel of people talking about how horrible contraceptives are. And in some cases spouting like just true misinformation, saying like, instead of using hormonal contraceptives, you should use wild carrot seeds or neem oil, like the pesticide, or
oh my God.
Or you know what I mean? Like, like I think that it's like one thing to say we should talk about side effects. It's another thing to say like we should be using neem oil instead. And I don't want the two to be conflated.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to, papaya seeds. I don't like, what are we, I get it. Well, I mean, like, we know that in ancient cultures, there were different ways to sort of whether it's induce an abortion. I mean, like for centuries, women have been trying to find ways to have autonomy, to direct their own, future.
Right.
So I get
one thing anthropologist Kate Clancy said that really stuck with me was like, it's easy to, I feel like there have been a lot of articles over the past few years that are like, look at all these like silly women going to TikTok for their birth control advice and believing all this misinformation. But I think the question is like, what does it say about our information landscape that so many women are going to TikTok for their information?
Yes.
And what Kate Clancy said is like, I think that part of the problem is that they feel like they're not getting transparent, honest conversations in their doctor's offices. They're not getting that from the medical establishment. And so they're needing to go elsewhere. And TikTok and, social media broadly right now is where you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we got the Rogans, Joe Rogans, the Candace Owens, what did Candace Owens call it? A Machiavellian evil design. Alex Clark calls birth control poison. And in the meantime, HHS has laid off the staff running Title X. It's just there's so many things going on politically as well. And I want to thank you again for this remarkable coverage. And by the way, I would recommend checking out the Sandra Fluke element, because I believe it was for she was fighting for coverage because she was also taking it because some people do take birth control pills for medical management for other reasons. Yeah. And so that was the argument. And Rush Limbaugh spent, days calling her names. And she put herself out there. I should follow up and see what she's up to, because it was a big story. It was 2012, I believe. So you had been very young.
Okay, yes. I will do that.
You've been very young. But that's a story that sticks out for me, and that's before social media really took off, but that a broadcaster really blew it up to the level. I remember men and a lot of people saying, she's a whore, she's a slut for wanting to take the pill and all this. It was just, it's so gross. And yet these are lives at risk. Let me ask you this before we go. How are you feeling as the new Julia?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like, and it doesn't feel like I'm like a totally new person or anything like that. Okay. It just feels like the sort of calmer, happier, lighter side of me is just like much more present than it was before. And the sort of like part of me that tends to like spiral and be really down on myself is less there. And when it's there, it's much more like passing rather than just like a state of being, So it's a pretty incredible, like I said before, like I'm 36 years old. It's kind of wild to realize that I might be like a calmer and happier person than I thought I was capable of being, And so it's a really incredible thing. And also it's a wild ride.
Yeah. I can imagine.
And so I think I'm just sort of like watching and waiting. Like, I don't know. It's been like this for a year. I hope that this holds, but like, who knows? I will say, like, when I had an IUD, I wasn't getting my periods, which is pretty common for people with IUDs and with hormonal IUDs. And now I do get my periods, and like, there are very real just like mood changes and body changes throughout different parts of the cycle. And I'm much more attuned to that. And so like, I don't know, it's kind of nice to be like, oh, I kind of feel shitty, or I might feel kind of down, or I might be more easily crying and that kind of thing. And oh, I happened to be like 3 days before my period. Maybe that's why. Like, just to not like, I think for so long I was like digging for like, what is the reason that I'm feeling like this? Why, I like going to therapy, going to psychologists and psychiatrists, and like, why am I feeling like this? And sort of like digging deep into my psyche. And there's a lot to be said for that. I don't want to negate that in any way, but sure. It's also nice to know sometimes like this is just where your body is at. Yeah. And like this part of this could just be hormones.
Exactly. Again, thank you so much for sharing the story. And not to be that old broad, I don't want to say wait till menopause, but it was. I mean, I would pay. I mean, I wish that there had been as much honesty online. I wish there had been access to information about what I was going through, because perimenopause and all those things. And also, I wish I had known about Diva Cups before. I don't know if you're comfortable in that area, but if I may recommend Diva Cups as an option to try out sometime.
Very good to know.
Just don't try changing it on a train, because then it'll look like someone tried to commit suicide. Anyway, I may have that one edited out. I was like scrubbing. I was on Amtrak. It was a really bizarre moment. At any rate, it was towards the end of my experience as premenopausal, and I wish I had known about them sooner. I just wish I hadn't done that.
That's amazing.
Julia Lurie, extraordinary work. Please check out everything that she does at Mother Jones. I hope that she'll join us to talk about all the other great work that she does as well, including her coverage of ICE and Dilley Detention Center. Thank you so much, Julia. And also, my best to your grandmother. I wish I could meet her. And to your whole family. Everyone that supports the work that you do deserves all the flowers, as they say.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Everyone, go to motherjones.com and read all her great work, as well as the other journalists who are covering the stories you might otherwise miss. These are the short stories that also shape our democracy. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you, Levy. Love you all.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
AP News, I'm Julie Walker. The Senate confirms Jay Clayton, President Trump's pick to become the head of the nation's intelligence agency.
On this vote, the yeas are 51, the nays are 47, and the nomination is confirmed.
Clayton, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York and a former SEC chairman, was confirmed 51 to 47 along party lines. Democrats have repeatedly expressed concerns about Clayton, who lost bipartisan support after a contentious hearing 2 weeks ago in which he repeatedly refused to say that former President Biden won the 2020 election. On Tuesday, Oregon Senator Ron Wyden, a Democrat, spoke in opposition.
He has repeated baseless conspiracy theories about American elections, refused to acknowledge who won the 2020 election.
While Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton, a Republican, defended Clayton.
Mr. Clayton assured the committee that he would assist our efforts to return the Office of the Director of National Intelligence to its original size, scope, and mission.
Earlier in the day, Senator Lindsey Graham was eulogized. Sagar Magani has more.
Services drawing colleagues and world leaders at the Capitol, where Graham served more than 30 years.
Lindsey Graham was impossible not to like.
Vice President Vance was among those honoring his ex-colleague.
A true American original.
Top Senate Republican John Thune called Graham a towering figure, choking back tears while remembering him cracking up a room.
I look forward to the days when you make us all laugh again.
The Capitol Rotunda ceremony came hours before a funeral at Washington National Cathedral. Graham will be buried tomorrow in his native South Carolina after dying at 71. Sagar Magani, Washington.
This is AP News.
I'm Seth Sutel, and this is the AP Markets Report. Most stocks rose on Wall Street following strong earnings reports from companies including Coca-Cola, but big drops for AI winners kept the gains in check. The S&P 500 rose just 0.2%. The Dow climbed 537 points, that's about 1%. The Nasdaq Composite fell 0.2%. Chipmaker Micron Technology pulled back almost 9%. The slides for AI stocks were worse overseas. Steep falls for South Korean tech giants SK Hynix and Samsung helped pull the Kospi index down 10.8%. Oil prices fell some more. The price for Brent crude fell close to $82 a barrel. Treasury yields moved lower in the bond market. The yield on the 10-year Treasury fell to 4.60%. Seth Sutel, New York.
I'm Julie Walker, AP News. More stories at apnews.com. Thanks for listening.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Welcome to the bar. It's political. Step up to the bar. Thinking critical. You'll think at the bar, whoever you are, the politics bar. With Sean Smith, Pierce, and Jody Hamilton.
Hello, my friend. How you doing, Jody?
Hello, young man.
Young lady, I'm in a very good mood. It's Two for Tuesday. We have two great guests. And, well, there may or may not be two, shall we say, former icons in this. We'll have to talk about that. Thank you, by the way, to everybody joining us from wherever you are coming in from. We appreciate everybody who's listening on great radio stations like AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Georgia Now Radio in the Atlanta and greater Georgia area. Maybe you're listening on WCPT AM 820 Chicago or the Detour Talk in Tennessee or Progressive Voices Radio worldwide, wherever you happen to be, or maybe you are one of our wonderful future people listening on your favorite podcast player, or listening, if you are subscribed at thepoliticsbar.com, $6 a month. It's like $1.50 a week. If you average it out, if you do the annual subscription, it's like $1.25 a week. It gets you the podcast ad-free, listen whenever, wherever. Plus, then you also get the news on tap and you get the drink of the day with the recipe. And today's drink, I like it. I don't think Lindsey Graham would like it very much. It's about peace. It's not about war. And as we all know, Lindsey likes war. I don't know. Did you see any of that today with Donald, with that whole...
I did not. I went to the thing and then I did the other thing.
Oh, yeah. So. You were at Bob's house and you were at Steph's beforehand. No. Okay. So literally at the National Cathedral, Trump is giving the eulogy, which was blessedly short, surprisingly. And he's like, yeah, Lindsey loved war. There was never a war that he wouldn't... Really, he actually said that. He's literally said, never a war that Lindsey wouldn't like.
Well, he said it on tape, too. So.
Well, I know, but I'm sitting there going, okay, that's not usually the kind of thing. He was kind of making fun of it. Gave out his phone number again, the same one he gave out in 2016. Literally gave out Lindsey Graham's phone. Gave the phone number of a dead guy, but, that's...
Can I go get a drink now? Because,